Hello friends, now a lot of you, in fact probably most of you, are more in the loop with what is happening out there than I am. You're smarter than me, you know more than me, you've got a better idea of how things are really working. Because I just learned about something today that I'm guessing most of you knew about. In fact, I think some of you might actually be in on this. And so today's video comes from the man who lost all hope, loses last little bit of hope he didn't know he still had files. So I'm going to say some things in this video that might lose me some more YouTube subscribers, and you know what? I don't care. If you are one of the people who are complicit in this conspiracy, then I don't want you watching my material in the first place. In fact, I don't even know why you're still here. But JLB, what kind of conspiracy could I possibly be complicit in? I'm one of the good people. Alright, well let me ask you this. Would you be happy with the government tracking you, not unofficially or through back channels, but officially, literally tracking your every move through your smartphone for your safety? Suppose it was an official policy and you had to actually install an app on your phone to tell the government where you were at all moments, and it was for your safety. How would you feel about that? Well, think about that for just a moment, because I got some information that we need to discuss. First, I did publish the most recent Bonversations just yesterday. It was recorded a couple of weeks ago, but I finally got it published yesterday, and so far the feedback has been sensational, I have to say. Of course, this is available through Spotify, Podbean, all the rest of it, blah blah, stream, download, you get the idea. I'll link to that in the pinned comment below. Now, one of the topics that came up in that Bonversation was to do with how rarely children are walking or riding their bikes to school these days, because both myself and the guest, we were born around the same time. I was born 87, he was born 86. And so a lot of what we discussed in that conversation was about how things have changed in just the few decades that we've been alive. And so one of the things I spoke about was this report from the New South Wales government last year that says that these days less than a quarter of kids are walking or riding to school. Just 40 years ago, it was 3/4. So that's a massive drop in how many kids are getting themselves to school, walking or riding their bikes. Like, that's not just a 10% drop or a 20% drop. That's a substantial, like everything's reversed basically. It used to be a minority of kids were getting driven to school or whatever. Well, now that is the majority. And one of the issues that follows from this is that the children are not learning independence. Even just having to walk a couple of blocks to get to school, there's a form of independence that comes with that. There isn't even a conscious thing. Like this little human just knows that once it leaves its safe space of the house, it's going to have to interact with the world to get to the next safe space, which is the school. And we used to do that without smartphones, without anything. Well, that doesn't happen very much these days. Now, if you speak to parents, they'll tell you, well, we can't let little Billy and Susie walk to school because it's dangerous out there. Because you know there's all of these abductors just waiting behind trees to steal children. You know, you've seen this on TV, I'm sure. Or you've seen all those missing kids on the back of the milk cartons, this kind of thing. So you know there's all these abductors out there just waiting to prey on the children. You know that. Anyway, here is what I learned today, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that some of you are involved in this conspiracy. I was just browsing Reddit, and for some reason, I seem to get these threads from the Gen X subreddit, and this came up today. This person wrote, I had both of my children in my 30s, so a lot of my fellow Gen Xers are empty nesters. But I am really shocked at the monitoring that parents are putting on their older kids. I was the only parent among my kids' friends who didn't have Life 360 or some other tracking software on their high school kid with geofences and everything.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
My kids report it has continued at college. They will be out with friends and one of the group will get a text saying something like, I see you aren't on campus. Everything okay?
What the fuck?
Given this information, are parents continuing monitoring their kids into adulthood? I know that kids can stop it by getting their own cell phone plan, but this level of monitoring is so antithetical. Is that antithetical or antithetical? Is that a typo or is that a new word I've never seen before? Well, either way. To our own childhood is now just an extension of the overprotected kid trend we saw through their childhood. So what's up, exes? You monitoring your adults? If so, outside of them being special needs or stalked or some other dangerous situation, why? Now, I had never heard of this Life 360 thing. I didn't know what it was. Turns out it is a very popular app that people install on their phones and then use it to track one another's movements. In fact, if the figures are to be believed, it's so popular that statistically speaking, some of you have this on your phones to track your family members and vice versa. So my question for you is, What are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Oh, but JLB, we need to track them for their safety. Now, where have we heard that before? Yes, need to track for safety, because there's all of these ooga boogas out there. If someone said to me, okay, we let little Billy and Susie walk to school or ride to school, I still wouldn't like the idea of parents tracking their kids like this for a whole bunch of reasons, but at least they would have some leg to stand on. But what if there's a parent out there or parents out there who their kids don't get themselves to school because it's too dangerous and they track the kids? Now, apparently this has been around for years. This is not something that came around a week or a month or even a year ago. This has been around for years. So you guys knew about this. And some of you are in on this conspiracy to track humanity. Yes, you are part of the problem. The very same problem that just a few years ago you would have said, this is a big problem. Tyrants tracking the underlings. Well, that's what you're doing. For their safety. When do you plan to cut the cord, by the way? So suppose you're tracking the kids and they're 7 or 8 or 10 or something. Okay, maybe you can justify that. At what age do you stop tracking them? This is a serious question. Have you thought that far through this? What, when they're 14? Because there'll still be the ooga booga people out there, right? When they're 16? When they're 18? Maybe after they go to college? Maybe after they get their first job? Or maybe this family tracking thing is now just a permanent thing. The families are tracking one another just forever. No independence, no freedom, no sense of I am an individual and I'm going to do what I want to do. If something happens to me, I've got to fix it up. There's no one tracking me and I can't track other people. Their business is their business, my business is my business. None of that. In other words, people my age, born in the mid-80s, we were more free and independent when we were 7 years old than your children are going to be when they're so-called adults. The 7-year-old version of me was more independent and responsible for his own safety than your adult children will be. I'm not even exaggerating. Think about this logically. They're going to go their whole life with the knowledge that they're being tracked for their safety. And if anything happens, someone's watching them for their safety. They're going to go through their whole lives like that. So the 7-year-old version of me who was riding his bike to school was genuinely more independent and responsible for himself than your adult children will be. Now, people might say, JLB, why do you care? And okay, the reality is, they're your kids. You can track them for their safety. As much as you like, that's your business, okay. The generation coming through now, though, have no chance. Zero, if this is how they're being raised. And they're gonna be becoming adults over the next few years. There's gonna be kids becoming adults who've had a tracking device, an overt tracking device. Let me show you this. If you type in Life360 on YouTube, so what I was expecting was safety for the family. That's what I was expecting. Look at this. How to track your family. How to track your family with Life360. Those are the top 2 results. Then, find out if your family is safe. Now, that's the kind of crap I would have expected to see at the top. Like, that's public relations, that's propaganda, that is marketing. Hey, this is for the safety. Whereas these ones don't even bother. Yep, how to track your family. How to track your family with Life360. That's what you're doing, you're tracking. Anyway, if this video has offended you, then you're going to have to unsubscribe from the channel, and I wish you all the best with the future, blah, blah, blah. And to anybody else who sees this, and you're just learning of this, how popular this tracking thing is, guys, I just found out about this. We're living in freaking clown world, folks. You've just got to try and do the best you can do. Take care of yourself. Eat good foods. Minimize alcohol or drug dependencies. Find hobbies that you derive some positive feelings from, that you're passionate about. Try to surround yourself with either good people, or at the very least, decent people. Like, just those things. That's all we can do, folks, because the masses, this is going to keep happening. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, too. And there's nothing we can do about it. Like, even the smart ones, they're gone. It's over. Lights are on, but nobody's home. They think they're the good people. But this is for the safety. Take care of yourselves, folks, I'm telling you. The things are going to get weird out there over the next few years. The next 5, 10, 15 years, things are just going to get so weird, man. Oh yeah, and if you want to hear more of this 37-year-old millennial boomer going on about the state of the modern world, go and check out that latest conversation. 2 hours, available to download or stream, and I think I'm halfway through my life expectancy. Not that I even expect to live to my life expectancy, but even by the official figures, I'm now past the halfway mark. And I think I should be allowed now to rant about My own generation and the generation above, the Gen X's. The Gen X's and the millennials are tracking their own freaking kids, and they think they're the good guys. What a time to be alive. Okay, everybody, bye-bye. Check the links, you know all the rest of it. Okay, whatever.
But like deliberately, right? Like this is what like TikTok is about. This is like YouTube Shorts. Like on your phone now, if you click into your YouTube app, the second row is going to be a bunch of like 15-second clips. Like those are deliberately designed to get you away from that, to reduce your attention span. You know, the stupider we are, the easier we are to control.